blasphemous ideas contrary to what the Christians would officially believe in, what Christians find to be blasphemy. What if Jesus didn't die? I don't know if that's worth exploring. It's an idea that I'm not sure if it's worth exploring, but that's what I was thinking about. What if Jesus, Spartacus, Alexander the Great, Jesus, Spartacus, Alexander the Great, and Socrates, what if they were like all one man? First, Jesus is born into slavery, and this idea is controversial. He's adopted, and his father, Joseph, is a pimp. And so he's born into male gender slavery. And then Jesus becomes like Spartacus, the leader of a slave revolt. Then Jesus becomes like Alexander the Great, and he has many wives. Then he has many sons. So Jesus is like Alexander the Great, and he has as many sons who are competing against their father. And he has grandsons, a lot more grandsons than sons. And then his sons form a council, and they say, our patriarch, he's senile, he's lecherous, and he's corrupting the youth, because they become morally strict and intolerant of their patriarch. So then Jesus Christ, he's been like Spartacus, and he's been like Alexander the Great, and then he becomes ostracized like Socrates. That's an idea of a man being ousted by his sons. But anyway, that's not what the Bible says about Jesus Christ. I don't think I have much commonality with Jesus Christ. Not very much, but some people said, it's like he's being crucified. When I was a very young boy, they said, it's like he's being crucified in a sexual manner. But maybe the Jewish society was saying, we'll test the ability of society to trust our people. And first, a lot of male partners for a young boy. And people said, hey, what are you doing to that boy? Are you trustworthy people? What are you doing to that boy? And then they started setting the boy up with many female breeding partners. So first the boy was very promiscuous with many adult men. And then the boy was the breeding partner of many adult women. So people who overreacted in the first condition found themselves off balance after the second chapter. So really, that's not like Jesus Christ. But it's an idea. See, people should think about it. Someone who's being sexually crucified in a manner which is, let's say it leads to their death, like Jesus. Imagine this. What if Jesus had been raped to death as a child? What if? Would people still admire and love Jesus as much if Jesus had been portrayed as a prostitute? If they said Jesus was a whore and they made him look like a gay boy dressed up as a girl, and they said Jesus was a transgender, would people still love Jesus if he had been if he had died of being violated by too many men, and then let's say Jesus commits suicide? Would people still love Jesus? That's something to think about, because that's a way that people can be killed. That wasn't what happened to me. And these people, first, I had a lot of adult male partners as a child, and then I had adult female breeding partners, which is even more important than whether you have adult male partners. It's more important if you have female breeding partners. So anyway, I went from feeling and believing that I had been ostracized as a childless bachelor, an involuntary celibate childless bachelor, ostracized by the Jewish society, to finding out that, oh, they actually they embraced me, but I didn't know. I guess the women expected me to remember, but I was so lacking in neurotransmitters from the vegan starvation diet that I couldn't remember them. So the Jewish men, I guess, they allowed their wives to believe that I knew about them, and I denounced. The idea was that I denounced them, but I didn't know about them. I thought I was a childless bachelor. I didn't know that I had any female breeding partners. So the Jewish women felt that I was an emotional abuser who hated them, the very essence of who they are, even though so many of them had cosmetic surgery to look like more conforming to white people's facial structure. So all these Jewish women who were my first breeding partners, old women now, 75 years old, many of them, 70 and 75 and 65, I guess. I would wish that they were informed that I didn't know that they were my breeding partners, and I didn't remember ever having sex with them. And I was not informed that that we had biological children in common. So I'm trying to reach out, and I'm trying to make up for lost time. What was it that I started this video about? I'll just upload it and make another.